What's up, guys? It's Eric and Marcus from Rare Candy, and today we're back with another discussion video. We haven't done too many of these, but it felt like the timing would be right with Guardians Rising out. And, we've talked about a lot of new deck ideas. We've been posting a ton on the channel. But today we want to talk more about the existing decks that are currently in like the Sun and Moon format and how their position in the metagame is going to shift and change once Guardians Rising comes out. And actually today we have a special guest joining us. We got fellow PokeTuber TrainerChip over there. He's going to be
How's it
joining
going,
us,
guys?
giving his masterful insights on Guardians Rising here.
Oh, I don't know about all that, man. But
But yeah, so that's what we're going to be going over today. And I'll give it over to Chip for a second. If anything you want to say before we get started, anything you want to plug or give a shout out to?
yeah, like Eric said, I do YouTube videos as well. I post every single weekday, so you guys can check out my YouTube channel. It's just at TrainerChip, and as far as other plugs, you can find me on Twitter and to the Facebook and Instagram, all that stuff at TrainerChip.
Awesome. So yeah, I guess let's get right into it. There's definitely a couple decks that are popular right now that I think might drop off, a couple old favorites that might come back, and a couple that kind of just stay in the middle somewhere. So the first one I was thinking we could talk about, these are in no particular order of like how good they are in the meta or anything. We're just kind of going to go through all the relevant decks. So the first one I think we can talk about, since it is the most popular though, is Decidueye Vileplume. And it's been, pretty dominant, the past several tournaments. I feel like every tournament it's just dominating like day two or making up a vast majority of the placement.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. What do you, Mark? So I'll give it to you first. How do you think Decidueye changes or improves, or how's Guardians Rising affect that? Do you think?
I think it's I don't know, it'll probably still be good. I definitely think I don't know, I like the one with the Jolteon Regice thing, so I think that'll still see play. But yeah, I'm not really sure like what it kind of gains from Guardians Rising really. I feel like you still just play the same like standard like consistency, get Decidueyes out like ASAP and a Vileplume type of build. So I don't know what kind of like craziness. I don't really think there's much to add to it from Guardians Rising.
Well, I think the obvious one is Tapu Lele, but that's like every deck kind of gets that. But it might help. Just because, we were kind of talking before we started recording this video, just like how the Decidueye can kind of like brick on you, and you can get some really terrible hands. So I think, so I think an automatic kind of inclusion will be to like swap out Lugias, or at least one of your Lugias, for a Tapu Lele. But
Yeah, I think that you should still play Lugia, at least one or two copies, just because Deep Hurricane is a really, really good attack in that deck. But with Tapu Lele, like, it has the same first attack, obviously. But then another thing to consider, if you're playing the Rainbow Energy version, like Marcus was saying, you can use the Tapu Lele's GX attack to completely heal two benched Pokemon, potentially. And so that's a way a lot of decks, like, they try to set up knockouts on Decidueyes and put a lot of damage on one. If you can retreat it and then heal it with a Tapu Lele's, the Tapu Cure GX, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
If you can do that, like, that can potentially set your opponent back a lot.
That's going to be so annoying.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think Lugia is too good not to include. Like I said, Deep Hurricane is really, really strong.
Right.
So how do you guys feel about, well, I guess two cards I think, in my mind, are going to make me kind of shape the attackers I would want to use in Decidueye, and that for me is going to be Drampa GX. Like, I don't know how popular that card's going to be, but I feel like if it is popular, which in Japan it's been doing okay, does that make you want to still play like the Rainbow like style of attackers, or just Grass and DCE instead? Just because of Righteous Edge, do you think that's like relevant to?
Yeah, I think you still, like, Drampa still can't touch a Jolteon, so, like, the Rainbow Energy version is fine there.
Well, Jolteon, it only prevents the damage, I believe.
Well, Righteous Edge... Oh, okay. You're talking about the first attack. I was thinking the second attack.
Oh, yeah, the one that discards special. Sorry, guys, I should have...
Okay, yeah, no, my bad. Okay. Yeah, that could definitely be annoying, but if you just keep enough damage up on it, And then like if you're playing the rainbow version of Decidueye and something like that became really popular, you can always put in something like a Magirna to protect the rainbow energies from getting discarded. Like that was a thing in Vileplume toolbox decks to protect themselves from Stardust Jirachi at the beginning of the season. So you could see something like that pop up if Drampa became extremely popular. But I don't know. Drampa is definitely I think it's one of the more slept on cards from the new set currently, and is really, really good. But
yeah.
Okay, and the other thing, I guess, to add to Decidueye Vileplume, yay or nay to Sableye. That's like the other kind of like talked about card. And just to give some context for you guys who are unfamiliar with Sableye, it's kind of been hyped because it has this attack for Dark Energy. Your opponent can't play supporters on their turn, so some people have been hyping that as like a new like go-to way to play Decidueye Vileplume. You know, to lock your items, supporters, and then just do damage with Decidueye. Do you guys think that's a viable option for this deck?
If you want to tie. If you want to tie, you can do that.
That's the best answer.
Yeah. I don't think the deck is great, but I think that when you're building that deck, you're going to build it a lot differently than normal Decidueye Vileplume. I think you'd be more focused on so, like, if they can't play items, they can't play their supporters, they can play their energy cards, right? So you would want to focus on things like multiple team Flare Grunts, I think, and try to do it that way and then eventually win with Decidueye's Feather Arrows. But like Marcus said, that would be a very, very long game.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. I haven't tested it at all, so I mean, it might not be terrible, but it doesn't seem great to me right now. Like, there was an old Sableye that did something similar way back when, and I don't think that ever saw that much play. So, I don't know.
Yeah. So, we'll see how that goes, but I'm kind of in the same boat as you guys. I'm not too excited about that idea, but just generally speaking, do you see Decidueye still kind of like its spot in the meta remaining the same or better or worse? Like, do you think it's still going to be one of the top archetypes in the format?
I think so. Like, yeah, for sure. I don't really see much from Guardians Rising that really like wrecks Decidueye or anything like that. Unless like Turtonator. I don't know. I'm trying to think. What were you gonna say, Chip?
Well, the only card that I can really think of that is kind of anti-Decidueye, well, besides Drampa, I guess, but anti-Decidueye from Guardians Rising is the Machoke, with the Stage 1 Machoke that has the ability that you prevent all damage done by abilities, and I think effects of attacks as well. I don't, like, just done to your bench Pokemon, I believe. I don't remember the exact wording, but there's potential for that to become popular in some sort of, like, you could play it in, like, a Raichu deck or Vespiquen deck, something that you don't mind having it on the bench, / you can discard it if you don't need it. But I don't think that card is good enough to stop Decidueye necessarily, because it's a Stage 1 and you can't really find it consistently under item lock.
Definitely. So, yeah, again, I would kind of just echo the same things you guys were saying. I still see it being one of the top decks in format. Actually, I mean, you know, the inclusion of Lele might seem like a small addition, but I think that really is going to go a long ways, because, you know, part of the problem with Decidueye is just getting your deck to work. Once you get it working, you know, you're fine. But just that first turn, if you can just avoid having like a horrendous start, which is like, it's not uncommon for that deck to have, and I think you'll be fine. I think Lele really does help with that. And like Chip was saying too, Tapu Cure is, I think, an underrated GX move as well too. So yeah, I definitely like Lele added to Decidueye. So yeah, I think we can all agree that one's going to be still a solid deck going forward. I guess while we're talking about stuff that can beat Decidueye, I guess the next one we can talk about is Volcanion. And this actually, I think, one of my personal more hyped decks going into the Guardians Rising format, at least like on theory or on paper. So I guess I'll start talking about that. You know, Volcanion has been, you know, a pretty consistently solid deck ever since it's come out. But there are a couple of cards in Guardians Rising I'm really excited about for it. The obvious one is Turtonator. It's, you know, the new GX that can hit for 160. Can also accelerate fire energy out of the discard. So I see that being a, you know, an obvious inclusion. But I think Choice Band is just so good, like in this deck. I think it's it might seem obvious, yeah, Choice Band's a good card, but you no longer, I think, have to rely on hitting 4 steam ups or 3 steam ups sometimes to take like a big one-hit knockout. And now that players, I think, will be ditching Fury Belt in most cases for Choice Band, you're just even more easily able to knock out things in one hit, which is really, I think, I guess what makes Volcanion, I think, an even better deck going into the Guardians Rising format. And obviously we have Field Blower as well to deal with Guard Boater. So I think those are, for me, the key three things. Some players might want to talk about the Altar of the Sun, but I think that doesn't really do much for me personally. But yeah, the big takeaway for me is Choice Band being able to more easily knock out things in one hit, and then Field Blower to deal with Guard Boater. So that's kind of my thoughts on Volcanion. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I totally agree. It gets a lot. Volcanion is probably the meta deck we have right now that gets the most from this set, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Turtonator is insanely good. 160 for 3 energies with Steam Up and Choice Band and all that stuff. Like, you're going to hit some insane numbers. Its first attack is really good to, like, kind of wall behind, potentially, like, force your opponent to play a Lysander. And if they can't, they take 8 damage counters, or they just have to pass, which is really bad. A really bad turn, right? So, yeah, Turtonator is instantly at least 2 copies, I think, in all Volcanion decks at this point. Tapu Lele can be okay in there, adding some consistency. That's actually one of the decks I think doesn't necessarily need Tapu Lele. Lele is, of course, still good. You could still play 1 or 2 potentially, but I think everyone at first is going to be cramming 2 Leles into every single deck and then realize, oh, it's not 100% necessary. But
yeah, and I kind of want to talk about that too for a second, because I've been seeing everyone, like you're saying, throw Lele in their list, but for me, I'm thinking back to Jirachi EX. I'm just thinking, well, yeah, Jirachi EX was definitely a good value to add to certain decks, but not everyone played it in every list. Like, I don't think, like you're saying, Chip, like Volcanion, you know, it will give it extra consistency, but Volcanion's already, I think, a consistent deck.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I don't see wanting to attack with Tapu Lele over Volcanion or Turtonator, since you can already easily power up your Turtonators or Volcanions. So I would actually kind of agree with that. That would be a deck that I would initially not be including Lele in.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you'd probably just have to test that, but that'd be my knee-jerk reaction, is it's not totally necessary. So, but
Yeah.
I think one thing that is worth noting too is that, you know, even though I think Volcanion gets a bit better, I think it also gains some less favorable matchups too, because of all the water support that is in this set. And, you know, it remains to be seen how good these new water decks that can be used Aqua Patch are going to be, but assuming that they are solid, playable decks, like Alolan Ninetales GX, which we've covered a little bit on the channel, and, you know, people may be trying to explore like an Aqua Patch, like Water Toolbox type of deck. If these, you know, get some momentum, that could be pretty bad for Volcanion. So even though I think the deck itself gets a little bit better, it might gain some unfavorable matchups. Like,
Yeah, there's a ton of help for water decks in this set as well, so
Yeah.
that definitely hurts Volcanion. There is, like you said, the new Stadium that gives your Fire-type Pokemon no weakness, but I don't generally think that's a great card, because you're just hoping they don't replace your Stadium or don't play a Field Blower or something to discard it. I think you'd almost rather play... You'd rather play Weakness Policy if you were that scared of it, but even still, I don't think that that's enough to help you, because, once again, we have Field Blower, and they can just totally get rid of it.
Yeah.
and we'll have to also see, I think, how many copies of Field Blower people choose to play. It might be like Tool Scrapper, where they only play like one
One
or
or two, yeah. One of them, yep. Usually just one, but some would play 2.
Yeah, because I remember when Windstorm was a card that, like, some decks will play, you know, multiple copies of that, and this is really just a Windstorm reprint, so it
Right.
remains to be seen, I guess, like, how aggressive people are going to try to get with this Field Blower card. But
Yeah.
but even
I
just,
think it's worth saying too, though, that like Field Blower is a lot better than Tool Scrapper. Just like, and that would almost warrant playing more copies, just because you can discard the stadiums. Like being able to get rid of something you think your opponent's going to be able to use on the next turn, like a Scorched Earth or a Skyfield, something like that, is really good. As well as getting rid of something that could potentially be hindering you, like a Silent Lab or a Parallel City. Like there's just a lot of good options with Field Blower that like you couldn't have a Tool Scrapper because you couldn't discard stadiums. So
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like Alolan Ninetales will be like popular too. Like I don't know if it's good or not yet, but I feel like people are gonna want to play it. Like I just feel like it's a fun, I guess, engine to play, kind of, with like Aqua Patches and like probably Wishy-Washy and Manaphy, etc. I feel like it's just kind of like one of those things where like people are gonna play it just because they like the engine, like Greninja and stuff like that. But I don't know.
So, yeah, we'll see. I think Volcanion definitely is going to be at, one of the best decks to go into the Guardians Rising format. And actually, like, I might go out on a limb and say, like, if you're going to one of the first Guardians Rising legal events, I think Volcanion's actually a super solid, safe choice.
Yeah.
If you are going to be participating in some of these early Guardians Rising tournaments. But yeah, guys, I see it actually. I mean, it's tier 1. I mean, I guess right now, so I don't really see it going anywhere.
Right.
It's just still good. I think the deck itself gets better, but it might get some worse matchups. That's kind of my final thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. And I guess since we're talking about all the water stuff, we can just kind of naturally slide into that stuff. Right now, I think the most popular water deck that's been running around is Quad Lapras. Chip, I'll pass that one over to you, man. Or how do you feel about Quad Lapras?
Yeah, I personally don't really like Quad Lapras. I don't think that it's, I think that it's easy for an intelligent player to play smartly around and put themselves in positions to win the game. Like, you can still lose a game against it just because of all the disruption and stuff they play, and especially if it's played by a very well-versed Quad Lapras player. But in general, I think most people can put themselves in winning positions against the deck. So it's not a top choice for me, but I think it's a deck that people will continue to play and would still be well represented. Aqua Patch is something that can potentially help the deck a lot. And then, Choice Band is something that could potentially be good. Windstorm or Field Blower is pretty good as well in the deck to, get rid of like stadiums and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, it gets a couple.
Get rid of float stones to like stall stuff out as well.
Yeah.
So me and Marcus, we've been testing out some Sylveon recently, Sylveon GX, and it functions really similarly to the Quad Lapras type of deck in terms of like how it plays. And I'm wondering if people are going to opt to just forego the Lapras idea and just migrate over to Sylveon.
Yeah, at this point, there really doesn't, like, once Guardians Rising becomes legal, there really doesn't seem like a reason to play Quad Lapras. I think if you're going to play Lapras, you're going to play Water Box, and if you're going to play some sort of Disruption Quad-esque deck, you're going to play Quad Sylveon.
Yeah. Like,
in my mind, but...
What's its attack called? That first attack it has, magical like ribbon or something
ribbon.
Like that. Yeah. Okay. Dude, it's so good. Oh man, like we were about to test that deck. I was like, I don't know how good this will be. It was really good. Like even though I was playing against like Wobbuffet and stuff. Oh my god.
Very good.
You just pick 3 cards. It's like collect, but instead of just draw 3 random cards, it's like pick
the 3 specific cards you want.
Whatever 3 cards you need to disrupt your opponent the most. So yeah.
Well, I think also too with Field Blower coming out, they can take off your belts, and actually you have less HP than a Sylveon does. You're not relying on tools for your HP buff. So, I don't know. That's another reason why I'm kind of thinking Sylveon might be a better route to go.
Yeah.
But like Chip said, I feel like Lapras will still be a card that's played. I just don't know if the Quad Lapras will still be the go-to version.
Yeah.
So, and I guess like speaking of Water Box too, it's kind of a deck idea people have been tossing around since Lapras came out. They thought that was going to revive the archetype, and it's like popped up here and there, but hasn't really done much. But what do you guys?
Yeah.
Marcus, I know you're a big Aqua Patch and like Water Toolbox fan.
Yeah.
So I'll let you take this one. But how do you feel like Guardians Rising helps or changes that deck, or do you see it being more viable than it has been?
I think Aqua Patch will definitely help it a lot, for sure. Just because, like, all your attackers in it are, like, multiple water energies, no DCEs, except for, like, Glaceon. So, yeah, Aqua Patch is definitely going to help that thing out a lot. My only issue with that deck, like, okay, so I played it at, like, locals, like, the first, like, 2-3 weeks or whatever of just, like, tournaments at the locals, because, like, I don't know, I guess no one there really had like played against like a Water Toolbox type of deck before. But then like people figure out, oh, we can just like play escape ropes and like Lysanders. So like you don't really, I don't know, like walling with Glaceon, it doesn't really do too much anymore. Like I feel like people just know how to get around it now. I think it'll see play, and I think that Aqua Patch will definitely help it a lot. But I'm not sure how well it'll perform or like how much play it will see at Virginia.
Oh well, it won't be legal for Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Guardians Rising comes out the same week.
Just Guardians Rising. So. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm not going.
I think Seattle's the first big tournament that the set's legal for. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it'll see some play and whatnot. I'm just not sure like how much or like how well it'll perform and whatnot with the new set.
I feel like it's one of those decks people will play because they're excited about Aqua Patch, but
yeah,
I feel like. Because you're just changing out your max elixirs for Aqua Patches, right? Like that's.
No, you gotta play both, dude. 4 of each.
I guess. I mean, you could do like Turbo Water, I guess.
No, that's. I think that this deck actually has a lot of potential, especially if what we were talking about earlier, Volcanion stays a very popular deck. You know, you have a great matchup there, but just being able to buy turn 2, potentially having 2 Laprases fully powered up that are hitting you for 190 every single turn with choice bands on them, 210 if you're playing a Kukui. I think there's a lot of potential there. You get to cycle between them with Manaphy. I think people are going to try out Ninetales at first, like you guys were kind of saying.
Yeah.
But I think that Lapras is strictly better than Ninetales in my mind. Just being able to cycle between them, not having to discard the energies. Like if you're discarding energies with Ninetales, you're going to have to play Aqua Patches every single turn. You're going to have to find ways to attach energy. If you get 2 Laprases with 3 energies on them, you can go between 2 Laprases with the Manaphy's ability.
A lot easier.
Have Field Blower to get rid of the Garbodor tool and Silent Lab to shut off Manaphy. So I think that Water Toolbox has a lot going for it, and it's probably the best new archetype we have coming out of Guardians Rising. And it's like we didn't even get an attacker with the set. We just got this one card that makes the deck so much better. This one item card.
Yeah.
That's how I see it, at least.
I think you can play a couple less water energy too. So like just because of the Aqua Patch, like instead of playing max elixirs or whatever, like I was playing like 11. I think you can cut down to like maybe 9 or something like that.
I think you still want to have a high count, like 11 or 12, because you want to hit those early elixirs. You really want to guarantee them.
I think Marcy's like coming more from the angle if you were like strictly playing Aqua Patch.
I can see that. I can see that.
But the only thing I'm worried about as far as that, and just any sort of like super turbo aggressive type of deck, like even Tapu Koko, which we've posted, and like a lot of these game or decks that rely on max elixirs and trainer's mail and stuff to go fast is. I'm like really paranoidly worried about the new Garbodor, because it just hits so freaking hard for 1 energy, and that's the only thing that's scaring me about a lot of these elixir heavy decks going forward, or Aqua Patch and elixir in this case.
No, that definitely is very true.
But I mean that's only one matchup too, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, I definitely see the archetype getting better, especially if you are playing Max Elixir and Aqua Patch, I guess. That seems pretty fun. Kind of like, I guess, like Turbo Darken expanded, where you can play Patch and Max Elixirs.
Exactly.
Yeah. I definitely think like Lapras is for sure like the better attacker than like Ninetales. I think some people will play Ninetales just because it's new, but like
people like Ninetales. It's a like favorite Pokemon.
It's like an old Gen 1 Pokemon. Everyone loves it. It got an Alolan form this set and stuff, so it looks cool. It's a water type.
And the Vulpix has a pretty decent attack too. If you're going second, so for free.
No energy, search for 2 Pokemon. So I mean,
and the first attack on Ninetales is also very good. Doing 50 to 1 Pokemon for 2 energy is not bad at all.
And it's like GX move is pretty sick too. Like just move all of the damage counters to your opponent. So it's definitely good, but I think that like Lapras just goes quicker, and like you said, doesn't have to discard energy. And it's basic. So I kind of look at them as different decks though. Like I agree.
I mean, they're the same typing. They have similar tools, but I kind of look at them as their own own things. But But yeah, no, I kind of agree with what you guys are saying. I'm a little skeptical actually on how much I like Water Toolbox so far. I think it gets better, like you guys are saying. But me personally, I feel like it gets a little bit of a boost, but I don't know if it's going to be tier 1 or not. I haven't tested it out just yet, so we'll have to see. But yeah, so that's going to be, I guess, kind of like the big water decks that are currently lingering in the format. What
Hmm.
about Turbo Dark? That's another one of the big decks that's currently a staple of our format. I'll pass over to Chip. I'll let you take this one.
Sure. So I think Turbo Dark is obviously one of the stronger, more consistent decks in our format currently. But I think that it gets hurt so much by Field Blower, and if we see decks starting to run, around 2 copies of it, like they rely on having their experience shares so much to keep energy in play, and if you can take that away from them, it's going to be a lot. It's like just going to stay an uphill battle because they're not conserving their energy. They're going to have to Oblivion Wing a lot more, and if they're Oblivion Winging, they're not taking knockouts.
Yeah.
So I think that Darkrai gets actually a decent amount weaker with the release of this set.
Yeah, and I think Lycanroc GX will hurt a lot too. Like, dude, that card is so fun. Like, you just get like 4 Lysanders like without using your supporter for turn. So, yeah, playing that Lycanroc was so fun, and I think that's definitely going to be obviously a terrible matchup for Darkrai as well. I think Lycanroc might be a popular deck, but I'm not positive. I don't know how popular it'll get and stuff, but I think that's just another reason to add on why not to play Darkrai.
Well, I think Darkrai I think it gains in certain aspects and loses. Like, so the first
It
thing
does
is,
have a new stadium that's really good that it
yeah,
gets.
Oh yeah, the free retreat.
I was gonna say that you do get Altar of the Moon, which will give 2 less retreat for Pokemon with Dark Energy. So that's really good. It helps you actually conserve your energies. Whenever you get, if someone's two-shotting you, you can just retreat for free and keep your energies and your damage output. But like Chip said, your EXP shares are just going to get Field Blower. I think like super passive tools like that have to sit and play for multiple turns are just not that good in this type of format. But at the same time, we do have Choice Band now, so your damage output is getting increased, even though it's getting decreased from EXP shares. But overall, I would still echo what Chip is saying, that I think it's too big of a blow to Darkrai. And even though Altar of the Moon is definitely a great stadium, now you're losing out on your disruptive stadium. So now, like, things like Parallel City and Silent Lab really help Darkrai against things like Volcanion and Mega Ray, and now those decks just can body it like completely if they're playing Altar of the Moon instead, I feel like. So it's weird. It gains some new tools that on paper look like it helps it, but I think it gets hurt more than it gets better. And I'm kind of with Chip. Me personally, I don't see Turbo Dark being a thing.
Yeah.
I don't see it being at the top tables of future tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, just the deck in general is fairly consistent. Like, it'll still be played, it'll still be decent, but I think it takes a really, really big hit. Like, it's obviously up in Tier 1 status right now, and I think we see it become a Tier 2, even maybe a Tier 3 deck, so it just loses too much. Or it gets hurt too much, I should say.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, like, you also have to consider, too, like, they have, like, another card that is really good in Turbo Darkrai is Fighting Fury Belt, having this 220 HP basic Pokemon. Like, Field Blower makes it easier to knock out, and Choice Band also makes it easier to be knocked out. So there's a lot against Darkrai, I think, from this set.
I would definitely agree with that. What do you guys think about the Dragon variant, with like Salamence and Giratina?
I personally like it better right now.
Yeah.
As we're heading to Virginia Regionals, it's like a deck I'm considering for that tournament. I don't know. I just think that it doesn't get hurt as bad by the Field Blower thing because, you can... I feel like that deck should play less copies of Experience Share, like maybe one at the most, and like you can't EXP Share DDE anyway, and it's easier to keep energies in play because you get plus 40 when you attach a Double Dragon as opposed to the plus 20 from a Dark Energy, and then you also have Choice Band. To like being able to Chaos Wheel for 130 damage is pretty crazy because previously Chaos Wheel could struggle when it can't knock out things that like 130 is a pretty popular number. Baby Volcanion, Oblivion Wing, Eviltal. Now you can Chaos Wheel for. Oh wait, no, you can't even. Never mind. You can't hit those numbers because they're not GXs. So forget that. But yeah, I don't know. I think the deck is still really solid.
Yeah. I was actually thinking too the other day. I was like, how to preserve Turbo Dark? Like, how do you keep this deck decent? And the only thing I can think of to mitigate like the loss of EXP share is maybe replacing EXP share and cutting 2 other cards to play 4 puzzles, just to be able to use more max elixirs. That's the only thing I can really think of that in my mind that sounds like it might be worth exploring. But even still, I don't know if I like that either. So. I think it's gonna struggle to remain where it's at in the current meta once Guardians Rising comes out, like kind of like we're all saying here. So
yeah, I think it's definitely gonna be a good deck still. Chaos Wheel, like that just hurts a lot of stuff. Like whether you're playing against megas or not, like just Chaos Wheel, just cutting off special energy and tools and items and not tools and items, tools and stadiums and whatnot. So, I think I like that variant better than just the Turbo Dark variant.
So, yeah, I agree with that, guys. Next up, we have Mega Mewtwo. So that's definitely one that is decent right now. I guess I'll take this one. So, I actually think Mega Mewtwo gets really bad after Guardians Rising. Well, it gains and it loses because now you can cut out, I think, your Espeon line even and just play the new Garbodor. Because that's one thing I've personally not enjoyed about Mega Mewtwo in the Sun and Moon format, is you run a Mega line and then 2 Stage 1 lines. I just think Mega Mewtwo is kind of inconsistent right now, the common way most people are building it. And now with the new Garbodor, since you already play Garb, you can play 1 or 2 of the new one as well as a backup attacker. But at the same time, the thing that helps your deck is also what is going to destroy your deck. Like Garbodor, I see being just a big card, and I think, I mean, if you're Mega Mewtwo, you just really lose hard to that. And I don't know, beyond the new Garbodor, I don't really see what Mega Mewtwo gains in this set. So my initial reaction is I really don't like Mega Mewtwo going into this new format. Maybe there's something I'm overlooking. What do you guys think, though?
I've talked a lot, so we can let Marcus do this one if you want.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Mega Mewtwo, yeah, like I think it definitely is gonna get wrecked by that new Garbodor, which, like, I feel like the Garbodor, like you said, also helps it because you're already running the Garb line. You get to run that new one with it too. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I really don't know how popular that Garbodor will be either. I guess it just kind of depends on that too.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think the new Garbodor will be pretty popular.
I think
I'm
it's
just
just
using
too
Japan
strong
as an indication as well too, because apparently
it's been very strong over there.
Yeah. So I mean, I could see that. If that Garbodor is popular, I could see Mega Mewtwo definitely decreasing in popularity, or at least like playability, or whatever you want to call it.
Mewtwo's another deck I think too that can gain from the Altar of the Moon Stadium. Lets you have free retreat. Yeah. It have 2 less retreat. So since Mega Mewtwo has 2 retreat, you get to retreat for free. And then you could also, I think that's a deck that Tapu Lele helps. Like you said, you're running multiple stage 1 lines in some builds, so you can add a little more consistency with that. And then the Tapu Cure GX can be a very good GX attack. Because right now, I guess like if you're running the Espeon, you have Divide GX, but other than that, there's no, like, some Mewtwo lists don't even run Espeon, so you don't have access to a GX attack, and that can be a really good GX attack to heal Mewtwo's. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think Tapu Lele definitely helps that out, but I think that's kind of obvious. Like, yeah, pretty much. Like, dude, Tapu Lele, I'm stoked for that thing, man. It's gonna be so good in a lot of decks.
Very good card.
I can't wait.
And I guess we can also mention Field Blower hurts Mega Mewtwo a little bit as well.
Yeah, those Spirit Links.
Yeah, well, Mega decks in general, I think Mega Ray doesn't worry about that too much, but I think Mega players are going to just have to be more careful with placing their Spirit Links now. So yeah,
I remember older formats, like last season, you had to be really careful about, like, okay, when do I want to play my Spirit Link, or when do I want to play my Muscle Band and stuff like that, because everyone played, Starling Megaphone or Xerosic and stuff like that. And we haven't had to think about that for, like, 7 or 8 months at this point. So
yeah.
something we're going to have to start thinking about again.
Definitely so. But yeah, guys, so can we all agree Mega Mewtwo gets a little bit worse? I think?
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let me see what's next on our list. Okay. Next up we got Mega Ray, and I'm gonna throw this over to Chip because I know he loves him some Mega Ray.
I
Yeah.
do love Mega Ray. I think Mega Ray stays pretty strong. Field Blower hurts it, but it also helps it because you can get rid of the tools on Garbodor. You can get rid of Parallel City if they're, trying to lock you with a Giratina. So, like, right now, I think Mewtwo's worst matchups are going to be Giratina-based decks and Mewtwo with, like, Parallel City Garbodor. So being able to get rid of those things, like if against Mewtwo, you can get rid of the Parallel City and the Garbodor's tool at the same time and give yourself a chance there. I think Tapu Lele is pretty good in the deck as well. If you discard it when you get rid of a Stadium, when you get to Dragonite it back, you get to get any supporter out of your deck. So that can help you find the Lysander you need. It can, find you whatever you need, like if you need to end your opponent. So I think that Lele becomes at least a one-of. I haven't, to be honest, tested it yet. I think at least one copy. You could potentially play two, though. I could see that being a deck where two is pretty decent. Unfortunately, Tapu Lele's text says that it doesn't hit for weakness or resistance, because if it hit for weakness or resistance, that would just make your Mewtwo matchup really, really good, because you can just kill Mewtwo's instantly with a Tapu Lele.
Dude,
but unfortunately, they saw that that would make Rayquaza too good.
I think Tapu Lele and Mega Ray is so degenerate too, because you can just like draw through your whole deck and Lele for a Hex to end your turn. I mean,
Exactly.
Ray already
That's what I
can
was
like
thinking.
somewhat consistently get the first turn Hex off, but now it's like I feel like it just increases it that much more. So I think I'm really excited to play around with that, but I feel like it's like super degenerate at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think another card worth mentioning is Rescue Stretcher. So
Definitely.
I think most lists right now are playing one copy of Super Rod. I think you just take that out for the Rescue Stretcher, because you can either put like a Mega Rayquaza from your discard pile into your hand, you can put a Dragonite from your discard pile into your hand, or you can just put three things back into your deck that you want to grab with Hoopa or something like that. So lots of options with Rescue Stretcher. I like that card a lot in the deck as well.
Yeah,
For sure.
I think Mega Ray gets like some other cool tools from Guardians Rising as well. I think one that's kind of like, I think it's going to be too much of a luxury card to fit in, but I think it would help it in some ways, and that's the Oricorio or whatever that lets you get 2 energy from deck whenever you bench it. So I kind of like that.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, because one thing I think Mega Ray struggles with sometimes, if you're not playing the Volcanion one, is like being able to discard your energy to Mega Turbo to get that turn 1 Emerald Break. I think Oricorio can kind of help with that a little bit, but there might be other like bench sitters that just might take more priority over that, but I do like that idea. Sudowoodo is another one that I'm personally excited about. I don't know if I will play that in Mega Ray or not yet, but it just like auto wins you the mirror match, so
And that's also a card that hurts Mega Rayquaza a lot too, which is worth mentioning. I think, like if that thing comes down, you have to kill it instantly.
And
because
just to give some context too, so people know it.
Yeah.
When it's in play, it limits your opponent's bench size to 4, so that's its ability.
Yep.
So
So you can like Hex and then fill up your bench, but then at the end of your opponent's turn, the ability comes back into play, so you have to discard those Pokemon, and then you don't get to set up using those abilities and stuff like Pull Up and Scoundrelling and stuff, or set up. So Sudowoodo hurts the deck a lot. You just want to make sure if you can, find good ways to take care of that pretty quickly. Like having Lele for Lysander on that is pretty nice, or just having access. Like you have a lot more access to Lysander, and I've said for a while that I think Lysander is probably one of the best cards in Mega Rayquaza. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think Mega Ray gets a lot of new fun tools to play with for sure. And one thing I'm kind of wondering is do you guys think Tapu Koko is going to affect Mega Ray's playability? I'll throw that at you, Marcus.
That one doesn't attack for weakness or resistance, right?
It does.
Or
It
does.
does.
Okay, it doesn't.
It doesn't have a
weakness.
weakness. Or
Okay. Yeah, I think that deck's going to be pretty popular. I think a lot of people are excited to play Tapu Koko, so that could hinder the appearance, I guess, of Mega Ray being played. But I don't think it's like as dramatic as like Mega Mewtwo or like Turbo Dark being like played less or whatever. I think Mega Ray will still see play and stuff.
Sure.
And it definitely got a lot of new a few cards here and there to like help it out, like you guys said, the Sudowoodo and Lele and rescue stretcher. So
And also,
I
too,
think Tapu Koko gets destroyed by Hex Maniacs. So
yeah,
if you can
that's
just stream Hex Maniacs as the Rayquaza player, I don't think the matchup is like. Of course, they have the weakness,
yeah.
so they one shot you, but you're pretty easily going to be hitting 170 every single turn if they don't have the Sudowoodo in play. So if they can keep Sudowoodo in play, you can't Lysander plus Hex in the same turn. But if you're able to, take out the Sudowoodo and then stream hexes from there on out, I think that the matchup is probably still okay for Rayquaza.
Yeah.
I think people
Yeah,
are
like
actually overhyping Coco as far as like it being a Mega Ray killer because it's one of those decks if like once your energy gets wiped from the board, you have to take like maybe you can pull off like one turn where you can get a new Coco with 3 energy on it. It's possible, but the way I see it happen is you're gonna do your Mega Ray stuff, knock out one Coco, they're going to bring up another one to smack you, and then you're going to take out that one, and they're not going to have like a fresh attacker. So even though they're hitting for weakness, I still feel like Mega Ray it can just more efficiently and consistently stream its attackers. So me personally, my gut reaction is that people are overselling Coco as like a Mega Ray killer. That's just
I agree with that.
I think Coco gets a lot better towards the middle of the month once we get the release of the promo Tapu Koko. It's a basic with free retreat, 110 HP, and it does for 2 colorless energy. It does 20 to everything on your opponent's side of the field. So I think that card will be really good because that lets you soften some stuff up, get some 40 to 60 damage on the field early, so you can hit better numbers with Tapu Koko later on. But like that card doesn't. I don't think that card even will be legal for Seattle or anything like that. So. Because it's a promo that doesn't. I think its release date's like the 15th or something like that.
Yeah, it comes out a little bit after the
17th, maybe. I don't remember. Yeah.
But overall, I still like Mega Ray going into the next format. I think Drampa. That's one thing we haven't talked about. That could potentially hurt it a little bit, but I don't know.
I mean, if that became popular, you could just play the Magirna version, and then you wouldn't really worry about it that much. Another card that I have kind of thought about in the deck, I don't know that it's necessarily that great, is Energy Lotto, which is a card that lets you look at the top 7 cards to put a energy you find there into your hand. So lets you search for double colorless. If you're playing the Volcanion version, it can let you search for a fire energy, so you can then discard it with the volcanic or the steam up, so that you can Mega Turbo it back on. So I think that's an interesting card. I don't know, like you said earlier, like a luxury card when you were talking about Oricorio. I think that Energy Lottos kind of fits into that category as well. Like it makes sense in the deck, but I don't think it's necessarily needed.
Yeah. I would consider playing one if you run like a version of Mega Ray that plays Skyla, because there's so many times when I play Mega Ray, I'm just like, oh, I wish I could Skyla for a DCE, and with Energy Lotto. You can effectively do that. So I could maybe see trying that out. Again, I don't know if I like that or not, but I would like to try it out at the least.
Sure.
But even without that, I think Mega Ray is still a good deck. Gains a lot of new cool tricks, so I still like it. I don't think it really it gains a new bad matchup in the form of, I shouldn't say bad, but Mega Gardevoir kind of evens out its matchup with Mega Ray thanks to Sudowoodo. So I think it gets hurt a little bit there, but I mean, I think it just becomes a more consistent deck, which is a good thing. So I guess speaking of Mega Gardevoir, let's get into that one next. So Mega Gardevoir has been, I feel like Mega Ray's kind of like weaker little brother in a lot of ways, because they function under the same engine. It's not as susceptible to like energy hate and like special energy hate as much, but they have the same engine essentially, and Mega Gardevoir's always kind of had a bad Mega Ray matchup because you have to 2-shot them and they 1-shot you. But now that we have Sudowoodo, I actually really like Mega Gardevoir as a deck, because now your opponent's Mega Rays have to 2-shot you, and you can 2-shot them, so it's no longer a bad matchup, I don't think. It's kind of 50-50-ish. So what do you guys think about Mega Gardevoir going into Guardians Rising?
I mean, I agree with that. Like, I think it definitely gets better with that Sudowoodo, so it doesn't have to worry too much about Mega Ray. I've never played the deck like in real life. Like, I played it online, obviously, but like, I don't know. Like, I personally just can't get comfortable playing that deck, so I don't really have I don't really have much to say about it, just because I already don't like playing it too much. I guess it's still good. Like I don't know, it two-shots a lot of things in the format and stuff, potential one-shot things. Like, if you're playing against, like, Lapras and they've got, like, the belt thingy on, you can, whistle blow, what's it called?
Field
The field
blower.
blower.
Field blower.
Yeah, whistle blower. Snowden. You can Edward Snowden their Fury belts off and then one-shot it, doing the 190. But then, like, you lose your whole bench. I personally don't like to play that deck, but, yeah, I think it definitely gets better with Guardians Rising, I think.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same thing as Mega Ray too, in the sense that Lele, I think, really makes mirror matches really degenerate because you can draw through your deck with a ton of Shamans and then Lele for a Hex to end your turn.
Yeah.
And that just seems pretty good to me. And it's obviously a backup attacker too, so it kind of gains the same tools that Mega Ray does. Yeah, you have Rescue Stretcher, you have Lele, you have Field Blower now. So I think it gets a little bit better, to be honest, and its weakness is much less relevant than Mega Ray, since there's not really any popular metal Pokemon other than like Solgaleo and that one shot to even without weakness. So like it has a great weakness.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think
feel
that.
Like,
Sorry, I think that Tapu Lele. I think that this is the deck that Tapu Lele fits the best in right now. Just being able to Dragonite it back after you've discarded it to get an In or a Lysander, whatever you need. Like we talked about earlier, it allows you to maybe play some tech supporters that you wouldn't have been able to before. Like you could find room for things like Delinquent or something like that. And another card that I think is actually really good in the deck. Like I think through playing the deck, one of the inconsistencies and harder things about the deck is being able to get energy in play and being able to attach energy. Like if you miss an energy attachment, you're automatically like a turn behind your opponent, right? So having that Oricorio that you talked about earlier, Eric, I think is pretty nice, being able to search for 2 energies off of that, and then you can Dragonite it back to get more energies after your Gardevoir gets knocked out. It also gets hurt by Field Blower with, if you have to be careful about playing down the Spirit Links because you can get them discarded, and then that's pretty like a sticky situation there. But yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. We could see that even like tech supporters that we haven't seen played in forever, like Pokemon Fan Club or something, being able to search out, the Oricorio or like a Rattata, like whatever, tech like Pokemon you might like, another Shaman or something like that, by using Tapu Lele's ability. But
yeah, and also too, one card I haven't seen a lot of people talk about in like the Mega Ray, Mega Guardy type of deck is Mallow. It's a new supporter from Guardians Rising. Lets you get 2 cards out of your deck, put them on top. Since you play like a degenerate amount of Shamans, like obviously you can maybe put
it's
like a
basically search your deck for any 2 cards.
Yeah,
so what it feels like.
I think that's a card that's being a little underhyped in those types of decks, because like we're saying, sometimes in Mega Ray especially, getting a DCE can be very challenging. At times, and being able to just like, instead of having to Skyla for a DCE like we were talking about with Energy Lotto, if you can just Mallow, put it on top of your deck and like set up for even just 1, that's I feel like a really good turn. This is kind of just theory mine. I haven't tested this yet, but I think that's a card that if there was a deck I was gonna play or add Mallow to, I think it would be one of these Mega Gardevoir or Mega Ray types of decks. Do you guys have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, that's something I meant to talk about earlier that I just like had slipped my mind. I think Mallow is insanely good in Rayquaza. I don't think it's that great in most decks, but like you're talking about, if you're running a stupid amount of Shamans, then Mallow is a really, really good card, because it basically, if you have 4 Shamans in your deck, Mallow basically says get 2 cards out of your deck that you want, which is really good. So like we've seen teammates be really good. But the stipulation there is like you have to have had something knocked out, so you can't necessarily always play it. Mallow is Mallow in some instances can be a teammate that you can always play effectively. So I think it's really, really good.
Yeah, and I think it remains to be seen. I do want to try it out, but it might end up being maybe like an Energy Lotto type of thing where it's like I want to fit this in, but I might have to cut something I don't like. But that would be that is one of the more, I guess, like less talked about cards I really do want to try out at the least in Mega Rayquaza, and to a lesser extent Mega Gardevoir as well. So yeah, I guess final thoughts on Mega Gardevoir. That do you think that's a deck that inches its way back up into like top tier, or you think it kind of just remains the same? What do you guys think?
I think its main bad matchups right now are going to be Decidueye and Rayquaza, and Sudowoodo helps the Rayquaza matchup. Your Vileplume matchup, I don't think gets necessarily that much better, so it just kind of depends. How much more is Vileplume played? Is it still worth playing the Mega Gardevoir deck? So we'll see.
Okay, fair enough. So next up on the list we have Yveltal Garb. Which is a deck that kind of started out dominating the season and then just disappeared, I feel like. Do you think Guardians Rising does anything for that? I'll throw that at Marcus. What do you think, man?
Definitely like Choice Band for sure. You're gonna just swing even harder with Evil Ball. You know, a lot of people play the Garbodor version, so again, you get that Garbodor as well. What is that Garbodor? Is that Garbodor's attack one psychic or?
Yeah, it's one psychic.
Okay, so maybe not play that. Maybe don't do that. Yeah, I mean, Choice Band definitely helps a lot. It gets that whatever of the moon, that stadium.
That's a big one, I think, too.
Yeah, that gives everything in the deck free retreat. The like Yveltal, the Yveltal EX, like all the Yveltal cards all have like 2 retreat cost, so they'll all have free retreat. So that's pretty good for it as well. I don't know. I mean, again, maybe Rescue Stretcher. I don't know. You probably still play Super Rod, I think, just because of energy.
Yeah, putting energy back in the deck is too good there for late game elixirs.
Right. So I don't think you even put that in, but I think maybe the biggest inclusions, in my opinion, are probably like the Choice Band and the stadium. Yeah, Altar of the Moon. I couldn't remember what it said before. Like, I just knew it was something of the moon. But yeah, so I think those are maybe the 2 biggest things it gains that I can think of off the top of my head.
Sure. Chips or anything about Yveltal you think gets better or worse?
I think it gets a lot better. The Altar of the Moon obviously is very good. Choice Band is very, very good. I think something that's been missing a lot from Yveltal is being able to one-hit KO Shamans with a Y-Cyclone to conserve your energy. So, like, normally you're scared to kill a Shaman with, like, an Evil Ball or something, right? Because then you're going to come up and get smacked and lose all your energy. You're not going to get to keep your energy in play. But now, with Choice Band, you can kill it with a Y-Cyclone, keep the energy. You, like, have a 1-energy Yveltal up in the active that your opponent has to hit. If they can't kill it, then you just retreat it with the Altar of the Moon and kill them with a fresh Yveltal. So I like that a lot.
That seems good. I hadn't thought about that one yet.
Yeah. And that's another deck I think that uses Tapu Lele very, very well. So it's one of the decks throughout the season that's played a lot of tech supporters. We've seen them play Team Flare Grunts, Pokemon Center Ladies. We've seen Delinquents and all kinds of stuff. So I think that Lele can find a good spot there. But Yveltal at the same time is also a deck that can function pretty well without supporters. Like of course you need supporters, but like if you just have energy in play and can keep moving energies around, you're generally okay with Yveltal. And then another card that I have considered that I think could be good, I haven't tested it yet. I don't think it's necessarily better than Oblivion Wing Yveltal, is the Rayquaza, that for a double colorless energy does 30 damage, and then you attach 2 basic energies from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. So I don't know that I think it's better than Oblivion Wing Yveltal, because you attack for just a dark, but then with the Rayquaza, you do the same amount of damage. Yveltal has 10 more HP. But Rayquaza lets you get 2 energies back. Its second attack isn't as good as Yveltal's second attack necessarily, like 80 damage compared to 100 damage. But 80 damage plus Choice Band still lets you knock out a Shaman, so there's a lot of considerations there. I think Rayquaza could be good, but I don't know that it's necessarily better than the Oblivion Wing Yveltal.
Sure. What do you guys think about Drampa GX? Like in Yveltal Garb,
yeah.
I'd say.
I personally don't see a reason to run it over just playing the 4 Yveltal EX or whatever people are playing right now.
Yeah, to me, I'm kind of. This is my just knee-jerk reaction. I feel like you might see a couple of different variants of Yveltal Garb. You might see any very just heavy Yveltal focused one, where it's just 3 or 4 Yveltal EX, maybe like an Oblivion Wing, and your normal Garb stuff and all that. And I feel like there might be another variant where you might see things like Drampa, Tauros, and maybe like Ninja Boy or something like that, and more have like a dark toolbox type of deck. I feel like in my head that could be something worth exploring as well too. But
Yeah, I personally think if you're gonna play one of the like colorless big basic GX Pokemon in Eviltal, I think Tauros is gonna be the better option. Just you only have to attack for a double colorless. With Drampa, you need 3 energies to hit for the 150 or whatever it is, right? Like the first attack is good, of course. The GX attack is kind of meh in the format at least. So I'm not really sure.
definitely. So I guess overall you guys see Yveltal being a little bit better. I
Yeah,
guess.
I definitely think so.
for sure.
Yeah, I would echo kind of the same thing. I think I think Turbo Dark has been like a deck that hasn't been a great matchup just because you have to commit so much energy to Yveltal to knock out a Darkrai, whereas they can just attack with the 2 energy Darkrai. And if Turbo Dark gets worse, then that's definitely a win for you, in addition to all the new tools that you have in Yveltal Garb. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it definitely seems like a deck worth coming back to, for sure. So next up on my list, I had Lurantis. It's kind of a deck that I think got some hype going into Sun and Moon, and it performed a little underwhelmingly. I know it had some success in St. Louis and expanded. I think some day 2'd.
Yeah, it was like one of the best represented day 2 decks. There's 4 copies of it in day 2. I'm pretty sure. And it had a top 8 finish as well.
Yeah, and like I think the main reason for that is, well, I mean, Expand's more consistent because you have things like computer search and all that stuff too. But
You have the Revitalizer compressor engine as well.
yeah,
So that helps the deck a lot.
well, the other card that I think made a big difference is Muscle Band. And that's like when I saw people playing that in Silver Bengal, I was like, oh yeah, that really helps the math with Lurantis and makes him a more efficient attacker. And I think now we have Choice Band. I think that just that one inclusion kind of makes Lurantis a much more viable card, because previously you had to 3-shot most of your opponent's Pokemon. But now with Choice Band, it makes the math work out a lot better, and you can take knockouts in less turns. But then there's also the new Promo Lurantis that increases its attacks as well. So between the new Promo Lurantis and Choice Band, you get a 50 damage buff. So you can Flower Supply for 90 for 1 energy, which is just stupid.
On a 210 HP Pokemon.
Yeah, like it's so. I'm actually really curious to explore Lurantis more again. And even though it doesn't come out right now, I think Tapu Bulu GX is a consideration for it as well. Once that finally comes out, that'll be a 10 promo soon. But yeah, I really like Lurantis as far as it being a deck again.
Yeah.
I guess do you have any? What do you guys think? I know I might be a little crazy or something, but I feel like it gets a little bit better here.
No, I agree. I think it definitely gets better, and I'm super excited that it gets better because Eric knows, like, one of my favorite Pokemon cards ever is Mega Manectric, and if I see the first attack on it kind of reminds you of Mega Manectric a little bit, but it's so underwhelming, like just the 40 damage. But now that you can potentially swing for 90 with it for 1 energy, that's like, it's so good. You're 2-shotting like EXs with it. Like in some GXs and stuff. So I think it definitely gets a lot better, and I'm like super stoked to try it out. That was the most frustrating thing to me, was 3-shotting Pokemon with like Flower Supply, and then I'm like, all right, I guess I'll do like 2 Solar Blades or like another Flower Supply and a Solar Blade or whatever. So yeah, no, I'm excited to play. I'm excited to play that with the combo, the new Choice Band and the new Lurantis.
Yeah, especially too, since I think if we do see a lot of these water attackers pop up, maybe if we see Lycanroc become more popular, it gains definitely some decent matchups too. So,
but you also have to remember too, like if Volcanion stays one of the best decks in the format, it's obviously there's not going to be much there you can do to fix that matchup.
Yeah, pray that they break. That's like the only thing.
Yeah. You can play EVs and Vaporeon, but that's like, even if you do that, it's not a good matchup for you.
Well, maybe in the like Vileplume, if you're, again, I'm just assuming we're talking about Lurantis Vileplume here. If you get the Turn 1 Plume, that can sometimes be enough to beat Volcanion sometimes.
That's true. Vileplume can always win you games just because it's Vileplume.
So, yeah, and being able to just, between the lock and being able to 2-shot Volcanions for 1 energy, I don't think it's as unwinnable as it seems. I think the Vileplume, I think, kind of evens out that match a little bit more, but it's definitely still in Volcanion's favor, like absolutely for sure. But yeah, I mean, it still has the bad Volcanion match, but like I said, it might gain some new favorable matchups in the format as well. So
I think another new card worth mentioning is the Glossopod
yeah, I forgot to actually
card.
mention that one.
So I'm looking at it right now. It's it has a really strong ability. This Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. It has 130 HP, Stage 1 Pokemon, and it has the Resolute Claws attack for a grass and 2 colorless, 80 damage. And if the active is a GX or EX Pokemon, you get to do 70 more damage. So 150 plus 30 more for Choice Band is 180, plus 20 more for the Lurantis promo that lets you hit 200, which is a really solid number to hit. We see a lot of the like the evolutions all have 200 HP. All the stage 1 GXs seem like they have 200 HP as well. So it's seems pretty good in my opinion.
Yeah.
You do have to attach 3 energies to it, unfortunately, but I still think like it's a pretty beefy Pokemon. Like effectively 160 HP as a non-EX attacker or one prize attacker, I guess I should say. I think it's pretty strong.
Yeah, and I think playing it with Lurantis, like the flower supply, makes it not as big a deal. The 3 energy cost.
And then also too, if you play if you have 2 of the Lurantis promos out, that lets you hit 220, which will knock out basically everything that we see. That's knocks out things with 210 and 220 HP, which are is the important number to hit. I think right now.
Definitely,
for sure.
That seems good then. Yeah, I almost kind of forgot about Golisopod there for a second. Yeah, I like that. And besides, you have flower supply, so it's really not, I think, not a bad way, or not a pain to power him up most of the time, since you can attack on turn 1 if you get out your Forest and Lurantis. But yeah, so yeah, I'm excited to see Lurantis do better. That was one of my personal favorite cards out of Sun and Moon, and I was kind of disappointed when it really didn't perform as well as I think a lot of us were hoping. So I'm excited to see how that does going forward.
Its numbers have just always been not the best. If you hit for 120 plus 40, that's 160. That's not knocking anything out, right? Yeah. So now with Choice Band and the other Lurantis, your numbers are a lot better.
Definitely so. Awesome. So I'm excited to see Lurantis pop up and be a little bit more relevant again. So next up, as far as grass attackers, we can talk about Vespiquen, or maybe we can even just talk about Stage 1 decks in general, like Vespiquen, Raichu, like these two. I kind of lump them in a similar category since they function similarly.
Zoroark and all that.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think about Vespiquen or Raichu as a deck?
I personally like Raichu a lot with the new set. Like you get Field Blower to get rid of Fighting Fury Belts. You get Choice Bands to let you hit better numbers. You can get rid of Field Blower also lets you get rid of Parallel Cities, lets you get rid of the tools on Garbodor. You have the Machoke potentially to help your Decidueye matchup, because your Decidueye matchup I think is pretty bad right now. And I don't know that it necessarily makes it any better, but it could help at least in some instances. Of course, like we said earlier, it's going to be harder to get the Machoke out under item lock, but you also have what's it called? You could potentially play the Salazzle that lets you burn and poison your opponent's active Pokemon, so that helps you hit bigger numbers as well. So you could have Raichu out here just nuking people for a ton of damage for a stage 1, just a double colorless, hitting crazy numbers. So
yeah, I think the Salazzle is kind of important too, because Choice Band bumps Raichu up to 190, which I mean it's a good number, but you're still falling short of a few things. And with the burn and poison from Salazzle, it bumps you up to 220. So
I'm not sure that Salazzle is necessarily better than Golbat though, since Golbat lets you put two damage counters anywhere, as opposed to Salazzle you have to do it to the active.
Yeah.
So if you don't need to hit higher than 190, Golbat lets you put the damage counter somewhere else for later on in the game, potentially. So I don't know that it's necessarily
forgot
better.
about Golbat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It hasn't been a relevant card in a while, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Choice Band really helps out that deck. I mean, Tapu Lele obviously as well.
Dude, I want to play Raichu so bad.
Yeah, it definitely seems pretty solid.
Yeah. No, Pikachu's my favorite Pokemon, so I'm always looking for a reason to put one in my deck. So yeah,
Hmm.
no, that's sick. I forgot about Salazzle too. So yeah, I mean, yeah, the bats might be better. Salazzle, what? That's like an ability on it or something, I guess.
Yeah,
When
it's
you
a
evolve it,
come
you
into
Okay.
play
burn and
ability.
poison your opponent's active.
Oh, whenever you evolve it.
Hmm.
Okay. So yeah, yeah, I can see that. Like, you'd have to play a couple copies, so maybe the Golbat. I don't know. I think maybe still Golbat might be better,
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
can
but
also swoop across with Golbat, spread some damage as well. Potentially, you have free
yeah.
retreat on it,
Hmm.
um, and you can search for Golbat with level ball. You can't search for Salazzle with level ball.
Yeah.
Um, but I think I think Vespiquen also gets good with Choice Band because Vespiquen
Yeah.
is a deck that in the early turns of the games has struggled with hitting one hit KO numbers. So now you have Choice Band plus Field Blower to get rid of Fighting Fury Belt. That can let you do that, and you can also slow down Mega Decks by getting rid of Spirit Links. You get rid of Garbodor's Tool. You get rid of Parallel City, reducing your damage. I still think Vespiquen's pretty good.
Yeah, I would
Hmm.
agree with that because Vespiquen's always been one of those decks where like a lot of times you'll have to overextend just to try to get a knockout. You have to dig so much just because, like you're saying, a Fury Belt, and especially in Standard where we haven't had a good tool for Vespiquen, it's been really
Yeah.
hard for it to clean up knockouts sometimes. So I would kind of just echo the things you just said, Chip. So I like that. What do you guys think about the other Oricorio that has been getting some attention? It's the one it lets you do one damage counter or place one damage counter per Pokemon in your opponent's discard pile on your opponent's field in any way that you like. Some people are hyping that up as like a way to kill Vespiquen or deal with Vespiquen. What do you guys see that as being a relevant tech against Vespiquen?
I don't know. It sounds like it would, but like I don't think it does. I don't think it kills Vespiquen or like I mean obviously it can knock out Vespiquens, but I don't think it like kills the deck being played just because like Vespiquen's got 90 HP. You've got to put like a decent amount of damage counter. Like I don't even know if I mean I'm sure I guess you could get to the point where you could like knock out two Vespiquens with it or something, but
Hmm.
I think against Night March it's definitely really good if you're gonna play an expanded. But I don't know if it like you know destroys Vespiquen or anything, just because Vespiquen's already going to get one shot by everything anyway. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I would.
I think another thing too. It's sort of the same thing we had with Karen at the beginning of the season, right? Like, are people
Yeah.
actually going to play Karen in their deck? Are people actually going to play this Oricorio in their deck? So
Hmm.
it kind of becomes that thing. I think that it does. It can definitely do damage to or not Decidueye to Vespiquen pretty hard because you place damage counters on a Shaman on the bench. You don't even have to Lysander it, and you can knock it out.
Yeah.
So I think it is very good against Vespiquen, but it becomes that thing of like, will people actually play it?
Right.
I think it is really good. I think it's almost a better Night Mark counter than Karen is in Expanded, to be
Yeah.
honest, because like you can potentially just clear their entire field of attackers in one turn, and they can't do anything about it.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I
I
would
don't know.
agree with that. It's definitely much less relevant against Vespiquen because Night March, like you're saying, Joltics have 30 HP, the Pumpkaboos have 60, and this is assuming they don't have Fighting Fury belts, but
Yeah, Field Blower.
yeah,
Get
yeah,
rid of
even
it.
still.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really like it as a way to knock out Vespiquens because, like Marky was saying, to like, I mean, let's say they have like 12 Pokemon in the discard pile. Like that's still like only barely knocking out one Vespiquen. Like
Yeah.
whereas all of your other attackers probably already knock out a Vespiquen anyways. I don't really see it as a good counter to Vespiquen in Standard. It's not to say it's a bad card, but I don't see that as a way to beat Vespiquen though. Like I feel like if your deck loses to Vespiquen already, Oricorio is not going to change that in my head. That's just me though. Again, maybe on the last turn of the game when all of their Pokemon are in their discard pile, maybe. But
Hmm.
other than that, I'm not too excited about that as a Vespiquen like counter.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get to a point potentially where, like, if your opponent isn't thinking about it, they only leave. So say they have like 14 or 15 Pokemon in the discard pile. They leave just a Vespiquen and a Combee in play. All you have to do is attach or bench and attach to it. You bring it up and you just clear their field and win the game that way,
Yeah.
potentially. So,
Yeah.
and since it's colorless, you can splash it into anything. So I don't know.
Yeah. So, what are you guys' final thoughts on like these stage one decks? Do you think they're better positioned, or how do you think they fare?
I like Raichu a lot.
Yeah.
I think all of these decks have bad matchups to Decidueye. It's yet to be determined if Machoke can salvage that matchup. I think Machoke is also a card that would be good in Vespiquen to protect your Combees from both Feather Arrow and Divide GX from Espeon GX. Because I do believe it says effects of attacks as well as abilities,
so,
right? Yeah. So. We'll see. I think they're both good. Like they get choice bands, they get the field blowers. So I think any hard hitting non GX deck, non EX deck is worth looking at. As something that has potential, just because you can win the prize trade, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Seems good. Yeah, and so the last deck I had on my list for us to go over is actually, I think, one of the most underrated decks that is going into Guardians Rising format. I think that's actually Greninja. Greninja, I guess, as of recently, hasn't been too relevant because of all of the grass hype that Sun and Moon had. But I honestly love Greninja on paper so far going into Guardians Rising. So the big things that Greninja really gained, I think, Choice Band, I think, is the absolute biggest. I would even maybe argue over Field Blower. I think that's just such an important card. But Choice Band and Field Blower are what it gains. Because previously, in standard format, we've had no way to counter Garbodor. Some people sometimes played Beedrill or like Minccino in their Greninjas, but overall they had no way to get rid of Garbodor's tools. But now we do. People aren't playing Fighting Fury Belts. They're going to be getting rid of those to play Choice Bands, which are going to be everywhere, which Greninja does not care about. It's a non-GX, non-EX. So not only are the tools most decks going to be playing less effective against Greninja, but it also reduces their HP for Greninja to more easily knock them out. And being able to Lysander up Shamans and knock them out for 1 energy, doing 110 for just 1 water is just... It just seems super good to me. Like, I really, really like Greninja, especially if Volcanion does get a bit of a buff and no one's playing Giratina promo in their lists for, like, Mega Ray or anything anymore. I just,
Yeah.
I really like Greninja. I think a lot of people are sleeping on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Greninja's going to be good with the choice band and stuff. It is tough against the, like, Decidueye and everything, like you said, and Vespiquen and whatnot, but I think it'll still be... I think it'll... I don't know if it'll come back like crazy. Like, I don't know if it'll be as popular to play as it was before and whatnot. But I think it'll definitely see some more play now with Choice Band for sure.
Yeah.
Like Lysander, like one, like you can like I forget if you already said this or not. You can like double shuriken like Shaman and then like Lysander another Shaman and then kill it in one shot
4
with
prizes.
like slash. Yeah, four prizes. So I think it'll still be good just because Shaman's a card and it can spread damage and now has choice band. So yeah,
Definitely so. Again, I'm just really excited about this one personally. Do you guys think that Decidueye will be too much for it to overcome, though, to kind of reclaim its throne? I think that's really the biggest question here.
Yeah, I think you're gonna because if you can get a shadow stitching up, it makes it a lot harder for because they can't spread damage. I think you'd have to play multiple disruption cards, things like Team Flare Grunt to disrupt their energies because obviously Decidueye can come up and just take a big knockout on your Greninja break pretty easily. It's also easy for like Lugia to ramp up with Feather Arrows to hit with a big knockout with Deep Hurricane. I think a lot of Decidueye lists are cutting Tauros. Tauros is something that could be harder for Greninja to deal with potentially, unless you get like the double Shuriken plus Moonlight Slash turn. But like Field Blower is very helpful, of course. So I think Greninja has a shot to come back for sure.
Definitely. I think another factor is Lurantis. Like we were just saying, if Lurantis gets better, though, then that might hurt Greninja. We're just going to have to see if Lurantis
and then also, if Volcanion gets better, then maybe Greninja gets a little better as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like that trifecta thing. Like what we were talking about even with Waterbox, too, like the triad of weakness and super effectiveness and all that.
So I think we'll have to see how the meta like solidifies, but I like Greninja though. I do really
Yeah.
really like Greninja.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, guys, I think that's probably the the biggest decks we're talking about currently. Are there any other like pet decks or other maybe more roguish decks that you guys think are worth mentioning? Gain a boost from Guardians Rising.
I think one worth talking about maybe real quick would be like Gyarados. It's not a deck that we've seen have a lot of, you
Oh yeah,
know,
I
it's
completely
done
forgot
really
about
well at all.
Gyarados.
Yeah, yeah. Like it hasn't done well. Like it obviously has a terrible Decidueye matchup, but Sam Ho did recently just do well at the Brazilian internationals with it. Like made day two. He avoided Decidueye somehow all day one, went 8-1, and then day two I think finished. Or no, he was like 7-2 maybe, and I think went 1-4 on day two because there was so much Decidueye on day two. So I think you could maybe play the Machoke to help the matchup. I don't know that it necessarily does help it. But you also get choice band,
Hmm.
so you don't need to play Kukui to hit the big numbers of taking knockouts. You get field blower to get rid of fighting fury belts.
The one
I don't know.
card, well, one reason I'm not a fan of Gyarados is actually the promo Tapu Koko, because that's just such a
That's true as
splashable
well.
card, and
That is very true.
well, we have to see, I guess, what decks are going to find space for that, but that's just,
It's almost
I
better
don't.
than Spinda. I feel
Oh
like
yeah, it's definitely much more useful just
because the
in a
free
variety of
retreat is so
matchups.
good, 110 HP.
Hmm.
So I almost want to say, depending on the popularity of Tapu Koko, that Gyarados might be kind of like dead. Maybe that's too early to say, but
But if you
like,
can get out the Machoke, you maybe have a shot there. But then
yeah,
that's a
Yeah.
spot that you can't bench your Magikarp as well.
Right. And then
Then
what
you
it
don't have
just
an
attacks
auxiliary.
for like a DCE too, right?
yeah.
The Coco,
I couldn't
yeah.
remember the cost. Yeah. Yeah,
So
that might mess it up a little bit. I'm trying to think of some pet decks. I don't know.
I know you like
I
Groudon.
Yeah, I wanted to say it. I didn't want to say it at the same time, but yeah, I do want to say like Primal Groudon. Like I've been messing with it lately, and it's just so good. I'm trying to think of what it gets from the new set though, because for its tool cards, I don't want to drop playing like stuff like assault vest and whatnot to put in
Yeah.
like choice bands, so I don't want to do that.
Um,
It doesn't get affected by the field blower, so that's cool.
that's true.
Um,
Yeah, but they can still discard your stadiums, and if they can regulate getting rid of
yeah,
your stadiums, then you can't do any damage.
right.
So
Yeah, it does
So
make it tougher to like for
yeah,
your damage
Groudon I
output.
think actually does get a couple cards. God, oh the new stadium Brooklet Hill. I think that
Oh yeah.
could actually be a decent stadium.
yeah,
If
Mhm.
you want to cut like, especially if you're worried about this new Garbodor, you could potentially cut some of your like ball search cards, and this is even good for Decidueye or like item lock decks too. Like you can cut some of your ball search cards and play Brooklet Hill to search out your Groudons.
Yeah.
The other card I actually really like is Mallow yet again, because if you're playing
Hmm.
like a more Scorched Earth heavy build, maybe three or
Yeah.
four Scorched Earth, you can just use
it's very
Mallow,
true.
then grab your Primal for the turn and whatever tool that you want. So
Right.
yeah, I think that could actually be a really fun card in Groudon potentially.
Yeah.
I
As
think
far,
choice bands could be good in the deck as well, just because if they get rid of your stadium, if you have two strong energies attached in a choice band, that still lets you hit for 170, which is a good number to still hit.
Hmm.
So I don't know that it's necessarily worth the spot. Like Marcus said, I don't know if you want to give up your assault vests and stuff like that.
Yeah. Like
Um,
I guess like it just depends on what your meta is. You can, because like the list I had, it was playing like an assault vest, a weakness policy, and a heavy boots. So you could like maybe drop one of those depending on what like your meta is. Like maybe
Sure.
if you're not like, oh, there's not that much grass here or whatever, I'll just drop a weakness policy or something like that to put that in. So I don't know.
it
Yeah, it could gain
definitely
that too.
it definitely gets hurt by choice band. I mean, like if
Yeah.
Vespiquen gets more popular, that's not good. If Lurantis gets more
Right.
popular, that's not
Hmm.
good. Um, I'm just trying to think like of other matchups that might improve or get worse. Um,
yeah, I don't
I don't
know.
know. It gained some new tools, but I'm not sure if I think it gains like a big enough boost. I really wish that new tool card in Japan's SM2 Plus set, or it's SM2 Plus or SM3, I forget. But it's that like that new tool that lets you it's like a scramble switch essentially whenever your Pokemon gets knocked out. I
Yeah,
wish
yeah,
we
yeah,
got
yeah.
Yeah.
that this set. That would make
Oh,
Groudon great, I think. But
something baton or something like that.
yeah,
Wish baton,
Dude,
maybe.
yeah,
yeah, I think
wish
that's what it is.
baton. I think that's what it's called. Dude, yeah, man, I wanted that to be. And it's not going to be in the same format in standard though, is it? With
Correct.
Groudon?
It'll be legal for Worlds.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, Groudon for Worlds with wish baton. Groudon for Worlds 2017 with wish baton.
You heard it here first on Rare Candy TCG.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I want to play that with Wish Baton so bad. I want to go to Worlds just to play side events if they
It
have.
is sadly only basic energy though, so you don't get to keep your strong energies. Like
Uh,
it'd be a little bit better
yeah.
there maybe, but
Right.
still, being able to ramp up pretty quickly
yeah.
Wanna
with your second
keep it-
primal Groudon.
That might be a good deck to come back to if we do this again for Burning Shadows.
There you go.
So-
Yeah, maybe so.
What,
Yeah, yeah.
what about you though, Chip? Are there any like pet decks that you think have gotten any better?
Nothing else I can really think of in standard, at least. I think if we talk about real quick expanded decks, I think you can play the Wishy-Washy in Archie's Blastoise. We saw like a couple people try to play that in St. Louis. It didn't really do that well. But like that's a card that lets you just do 220 damage to something, and like it's basically like you take a knockout. So I could see that being something pretty good.
Sure.
But I can't really think of anything else at the moment.
Yeah. I guess I'll mention a deck if we want to touch on expanded deck. I actually really want to try out is Selgor Trevenant. A lot of people have been talking about the new Grass Phantom in like the traditional Trevenant break. Just because you can use Forest to evolve right into Trevenant to item lock your opponent, and I really don't see that being good. Dimension value is just too good, but I really like actually making Forest your go-to stadium for Trevenant Excelgor,
Yeah, I can see that.
and then just getting out the item lock turn one. So that's.
But is it worth losing Wobbuffet? Like, wouldn't you rather just have multiple Wobbuffets because of how popular Keldeo is?
I don't know. It just depends. Maybe you still play Keldeo, or maybe you still play Wobbuffet. I'm not sure. Like,
Okay.
Like maybe like a 1 or 2 count or something. I'm not sure, but I do want to play around with that and see how that is. I definitely like that.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I guess as far as standard format though, I guess like decks I've enjoyed in the past have been like Mega Scizor, which is still terrible now because of Volcanion. I don't think that new stadium helps it at all.
Yeah.
You get the little the Domize that lets you hit for does 10 more damage, so that lets you hit 130, which is a good number to hit.
Yep.
Knocks out the baby Volcanion, the Eviltal, all that stuff.
Mhm.
Then I guess another card worth mentioning too is Sigaleo GX. If you
Yeah, I
play
was
a
about to say that
Domize
one
in that, it lets you play. It lets you hit 240, which knocks out a Decidueye. 250 if you play 2 of them, so that lets you knock out opposing Sigaleo GXs if that ever became that popular. But at this point, it's still a Stage 2 Pokemon, and I think it's just a little too slow for where we're at right now. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually do think that deck, that is one of my more like, I guess, personal like pet favorite decks. I think it gets a little bit of a boost. Field Blower makes, I think, a big difference for it because Garbodor really hurt that deck. So just being able to Field Blower stuff, and also that deck didn't really have a designated stadium, so being able to just have a way to counter stadiums, I think, is really nice as well. So
you could also use the new Metagross GX to put energies back onto your Sigaleo, but then you're running 2 big Stage 2s, and
yeah.
don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that route either, but
We just don't have support Stage 2s just aren't going to be good in this format until I think Sun and Moon on is where we finally will have a chance to have support Stage 2s be relevant again. But right now, I just
or
if
at
there's
least once
too
a
much
while
going
when
against them.
rotates, that'll be a good-
That'll help a lot.
But yeah, maybe I think the only other deck I can really think of that is somewhat relevant is maybe Lycanroc, which has been popping up here and there. Different variations we've seen like Lycanroc, Vileplume, Carbink, Garbodor, and the new Midnight form of Lycanroc from Guardians Rising. I think it actually does help that deck a little bit because the regular Lycanroc is already kind of an inefficient attacker at times, so you had this new good backup attacker in the form of the new Lycanroc GX. Also has the built-in Lysander effect built into
Hmm.
it. We have Brooklet Hill to get out your Rockruffs, since I don't
And your
think...
Carbinks and
Yeah,
whatever you
yeah.
need. Yeah.
So I
I think
think,
it's good too.
yeah, that might be a deck worth exploring a little bit. But again, it's kind of in a similar boat. It's weak to grass still, so if Lurantis gets more popular, and if Vileplume still remains popular, we'll have to see how well it does. But it does gain a little bit of a boost no matter what in the form of the new Lycanroc and Stadium. And, of course, Choice Band, Field Blower, Tapu Lele, all of the, the staples that are going to go into every deck. But, um, yeah, so that deck seems like it's worth exploring a little bit more as well.
For sure.
Hmm.
All right, guys. So, yeah, again, I think we've covered everything. And you guys watching too, if we did forget something, be sure to let us know in the comments below if there's any decks you think we missed. But any closing thoughts, guys? What decks do you think, or what deck do you think gets the biggest boost and gets hurt the most going into Guardians Rising? I'll throw it over to our guest Chip.
So biggest boost, I'm gonna stick with my homie Mega Rayquaza. Malo's super good, Tapu Lele's super good, Field Blower is super good. There's just a lot going for it right now. Rescue Stretcher, I think it's very, very strong. Sudowoodo does hurt, so worth considering there. I think Raichu is another deck that I really want to try to work out a lot. You could have Malo be good in there since you're playing multiple Shamans as well. So those are probably the two. I think as far as hurt the most, I would go with Mewtwo. I think Garbodor is just going to be very, very good, and just hitting for the weakness, you're not really going to be able to overcome that. So I don't think Mewtwo will be that great post Guardians Rising.
What about you, Marcus?
Hurt the most? Yeah, I'd say like I agree with Mewtwo, and then also Darkrai, like Turbo Dark. I think it's hurt a lot. So I'd put those two under hurt the most for sure. Biggest boost? I'm not positive. I guess Mega Ray does gain a lot of stuff. Water Box, I guess too, would be another huge boost as well with the Aqua Patches and everything like that. So yeah, I might put that one for mine. The Water Box for biggest boost, and then the Turbo Dark for hurt the most, I guess.
Seems good. I would completely agree with those. I would say I'd actually probably say Mega Mewtwo gets hurt the most, just because it gets just easily like knocked out now. Whereas Darkrai, even though it does get hurt, it's still a playable solid deck with decently well-rounded matchups.
Yeah.
It's just not as strong. So I would think I'd give it to Mewtwo as far as my personal pick for worst. And I think I might say Lurantis actually gets the most, has the most to gain from this set.
I agree with that too.
So I would either say that or maybe Greninja. I like rooting for the underdog. So
Yeah.
But I might stick with Lurantis. I'm really curious to see how that's going to fare now that it has Choice Band and the new promo Lurantis as well.
I'm stoked for Lurantis. It's gonna be cool.
Hopefully, well, I guess in the coming weeks we'll see if these predictions turn out to be true or not. But definitely a lot of a lot of new interesting stuff happening to these old archetypes. So I know a lot of people are concentrating on all the new cards, and it's easy to get excited to try them out. But don't forget about these old dogs, man. They still good. They still good. Yeah, guys. I think that's gonna pretty much wrap this one up. Big shout out to Chip for coming on. Means a lot. Like featuring.
Yeah,
other
thanks for having me,
competitors.
guys.
Yeah, man. No problem at all. And any last words, Chip? You want to give any other shout outs or anything? I know we kind of covered that already, but any closing thoughts?
Just same as before. You can follow me on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, all that stuff at TrainerChip.
Cool. Well, sounds good. Well, as usual, guys, feel free to like and subscribe. We appreciate you watching, and definitely stay tuned to the channel. We'll have a lot of Guardians Rising stuff coming out over the next couple of weeks. But that's pretty much it. We'll see you guys for the next one, okay?
See you guys.